I challenge you to a duel. We shall fight the sport of kings. We shall honor the great old ones in ritual combat of single action, ocean liner battle. That's right, baby! The ancient sport of piloting a ship 300 meters long like a true gentleman. A ship of class and sophistication filled with all the amenities a gentleman desires. Turkish bath, swimming pool, fencing arena, smoking lounge, and the very finest of dining experiences. Covered in a dazzling array of whatever weapons we happen to find lying around at our closest naval shipyard. As challenger, I have the right of first pick. And obviously I have taken the pride of the Empire, the SS Great Eastern. I have filled its decks with machine guns, 5-inch guns, missiles, and of course the mightiest weapon of the British Empire, 111 16-pounder guns. Yeah, baby!
Lincoln made young General George McClellan the new commanding general, and McClellan began to train up his men. He thought a lot of himself, however, and believed he was going to be the nation's great savior. And like many others, he didn't approve of the president's handling of the war. On one occasion, Lincoln went to McClellan's house to meet with him, but McClellan was late returning home. He kept the president waiting, and when he finally got there, he just straight up went to bed. Now that's what I call disrespectful.
You are an ass. You are an ass. Where? He is there. There is the ass.
You should have more to drink.
You are forgiven.
But to most of French noble society, he was just a weird orphaned millionaire. And what do weird orphaned millionaires do? They become Batman. But who would Lafayette become Batman against?
You said you wanted to know how to get to Capone. Do you really want to get him? You see what I'm saying? What are you prepared to do?
Everything within the law.
And then what are you prepared to do? If you open the ball on these people, Mr. Nash, you must be prepared to go all the way. Because they won't give up the fight until one of you is dead.
I want to get Capone. I don't know how to get him.
You want to get Capone? Here's how you get him. He pulls a knife, you pull a gun. He sends one of yours to the hospital, you send one of his to the morgue. That's the Chicago way.
So when we're not eating breakfast, lunch, or dinner, we've been surviving off of Cheetos.
Yep.
This one bag of Cheetos you have been eating for 2 days now.
Yeah, pretty much.
My mommy gave them to me.
They got all the nutrients that plants crave.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, it's like Rondo.
It's the wonder of nature, baby!
Good evening and welcome to this edition of Uncut History. Let's just put a nice dissolve there. Ah, perfect. So, not as smooth of an intro as last week. I know that was a hard cut there, but hey, we had the intro in the funnies this week. It kind of just all blended in. So I'm going to give that a 7 out of 10. What do you guys say in the chat? Last week was the peak smooth transition. That was 10 out of 10. This is more like 7 out of 10. How's everybody doing tonight? We have Wrangler in the chat. Hail yourself, Wrangler. Hail yourself. And last weekend, I was on my Harper's Ferry Blitz. Wow, I'm already fumbling my lines. Harper's Ferry Blitz. It was wonderful. Weather was beautiful. To be down by the Potomac and Shenandoah rivers. Filmed a lot of stuff. I don't know if a lot of it's coherent, but we'll make it work in future videos. So in the coming weeks, you'll expect to see a few videos from Harper's Ferry, made famous or infamous by John Brown, one of our favorite individuals to talk about here on Readout Productions. And we also explored the new Antietam Visitor Center, and yes, it is a lovely new visitor center. I really liked how the flow was set up. We was very busy both at Harper's Ferry and Antietam, and Harper's Ferry was a bit of a choke point. I will admit, we kind of had to retire early because a lot of people. I'm glad a lot of people came out and enjoyed the sights, but we were ready to sit and drink. I'm not going to lie. We were ready to drink some alcohol. But the Antietam Visitor Center busy, but the layout is so well done that even when they're busy, the crowd flows pretty smoothly through the exhibits. And we got to do some exploration around the Sunken Road, aka the Bloody Lane, and there will be a Retracing History video later at an undetermined time. I'll figure that out as I go along. So yes, fun vacation, but we're back here in the studio. Yes, the lovely studio. Why is it? Oh, no, the paint's peeling there, and the paint. Don't worry about it. So we got a lot to talk about this week. A lot of small stories, and I was unsure what I was going to talk about, but just kind of as the week went on, the stories were piling up. It was like the first time I've set up for the stream, and I wasn't in a rush. I had about like 5 or 6 minutes to spare just to sit back and chill. Not drinking any beer. I'm drinking just simple root beer because I'm a coward tonight. I have to work tomorrow, so tomorrow while we're watching A Drink with Crazies, Iron Age Nights, might get sloshed. All right, so should kind of stop stalling. Let's head to our first story tonight, and our first story is actually a shill. You remember a few weeks ago on Uncut History, we had Jim Abels of the National Guard, the NGP project, which preserves the legacy of Pennsylvania's National Guard. It's a living history group that focuses on the National Guard during, I think they run from the 1870s up through the 1910s. So they cover the railroad strike in 1877, the Homestead Strike of 1892. They cover the Spanish-American War of 1898. More on that later. They cover the National Guard's deployment overseas for the First World War. So they do a lot of stuff in that time period. It was probably the best stream we've done on Uncut History. Be sure to go watch it if you're not done so already. Mr. Abels was a wealth of information, and I do hope to get him back on the show sometime this fall. We'll talk more about the National Guard in Pennsylvania history. That being said, what I want to talk about is the NGP Historic Preservation and Education Project, or as I've labeled it, NGP Span-Am. I just love saying Span-Am. It's like span and a cam, Span-Am. Gotta have fun with the English language sometimes. So this is a GoFundMe, and this year marks the 125th anniversary of the War of Spain, commonly known as the Spanish-American War. Pennsylvania sent free of its regiments, free batteries of artillery, and free troops of cavalry overseas, as well as sending other units to strategic locations to safeguard critical infrastructure necessary for national defense for war production. For the anniversary of the largest mobilization of state troops since the American Civil War, we would like to support 5 sites tied to the National Guard of Pennsylvania. Our goal is to raise $5,000 minimum, dividing the total funds raised evenly between these locations to further their historical preservation and education efforts. These locations are the PA Capitol Preservation Committee's flag collection. Ah, yes. I think if it hasn't opened already, they're going to have a grand opening. The PA Capitol Preservation Committee, they're going to have a new museum in Harrisburg where all of the military flags going all the way back, most of them are American Civil War. I think they may have a few earlier. The public can go access and explore Pennsylvania's extensive battle honor collection. So one of the efforts that the NGP project want to contribute to is for the PA Capitol Preservation Committee's flag collection. $1,000 are hopefully going to go to that. The Mount Gretna Area Historical Society. Mount Gretna is in Lebanon County, Pennsylvania, and was the site of training facilities for the National Guard of Pennsylvania in the late 1800s to the early 1930s, most notably during the Spanish-American War. So this is where all the troops in Pennsylvania mustered in to go off and fight during the Spanish-American War. And unfortunately, it's not well preserved. The Historical Society does a good job interpreting what happened there at their building, but in the surrounding area where the encampments are, there's no markers, right? No large large markers. And that is what this part of the proceeds to this preservation effort are going to go to. $1,000 minimum will fund interpretive signage at Soldiers Field to help interpret the NGP's time at Mount Gretna. Fort Mott State Park, which is located in Pennsville, New Jersey, was a former U.S. installation along the Delaware River. And during the war against, I want to say, oh, wow, I was going to say Mexico. Oh, God. In the war between America and Spain, the 14th Infantry Regiment were ordered there to guard government property and defend the approach to the Delaware River. Why is the Delaware River so important? Well, along the Delaware River in the Philadelphia area were a variety of different gunpowder manufacturers and weapon manufacturers. So Fort Mott was protecting this critical artery. I think Fort Mott goes back to the Civil War. And I do remember, yes, this July, the NGP History Project actually did a living history event there. The Fort Delaware State Park, which is located on Pea Patch Island, what a name, in the middle of the Delaware River. This installation was active during the American Civil War as a prison camp, and Pennsylvania troops were part of the garrison there, as they were during the summer of 1898 with the 14th Infantry Regiment. So proceeds will go to help give more interpretive signage to the Fort Delaware area. And last but not least is the Pennsylvania Military Museum located in Bowlesburg, just outside of State College. Theodore Bowl formed the Bowles Troops, a mounted machine gun unit on his family property in Bowlesburg. And this organization became the machine gun troop of the 1st Pennsylvania Cavalry. And since then, because Bowles Troop were organized there, the 28th Infantry Division Shrine is now located on the property, which went from being a memorial to Bowles Troops to all of the Pennsylvania servicemen that served in the 28th Infantry Division in World War I, to World War II, to Vietnam, and now it's just a general shrine to the 28th Infantry Division. And that has a special place in my heart because I've had family members who have served with the 28th Infantry Division, not necessarily in those conflicts in more recent memory. And I am planning this winter to go up to Bowlesburg and do a video on it. This seems like to be a winter project. So hopefully me and a humble collector will team up for one of our blitzes in the winter. We will stop at the Pennsylvania Military Museum and document that shrine. And $1,000, the NGP project hopes to raise funds to the Pennsylvania Military Museum. Now, unfortunately, you can see they really haven't reached their goal yet. They've only raised $275, but you can change that because guess what I'm going to do? Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to give you the link. That link. Yeah, you're seeing me copy that link. Let me give you the link. Here you are. It's going right there. It's in the chat. It's in the chat right now. So any dollar will help to raise funds for the NGP History Project so they can provide interpretive signage to these historic sites that are not well known, but are as equally important as other military sites here in the state of Pennsylvania. So it would do a world of good if you can go help the NGP Project out in this effort. All right. So our next order of business, I'm about to get heated. So I have discussed about the Youngstown Steel Heritage, aka the J&L Narrow Gauge Railroad, on our preservation shoutout streams. They are a industrial museum dedicated to the steelmaking history of Youngstown, Ohio, but they're also extending to telling the story of the steel industry in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. A lot of the equipment they've acquired has come from old steel mills in Pittsburgh. Youngstown also had a steelmaking industry. And to extend, they started out as a large building with these large pieces of equipment that are no longer in use. They then started getting into preserving small steam locomotives, these narrow gauge locomotives that were used to shunt various cars from shop to shop in the steel plant. So this is how they basically went through, how they moved all the ingredients from shop to shop to shop at the steel plants to go from raw materials to steel and iron ingots. So they laid a little bit of a demo track. They got a J&L narrow gauge locomotive, number 58, got it back in operating condition a few years ago. And since then, have been laying more track. They've acquired, I think, 3 more J&L locomotives, which is pretty cool. So they'll have like 4 locomotives. The end goal is to have them fully functioning. And they go back and forth, give the public that visits the museum a little bit of a feel how these unusual locomotives operated. So this is a museum. This is about preserving history. Well, as you can see here, they posted on the 20th, no more trains for the time being. And I'll read from what is the Youngstown Steel Heritage has posted. We are discontinuing our public train rides until further notice. The state of Ohio has contacted us contending that we are an amusement ride and not a steam heritage railroad and must shut down until we pass inspection as an amusement ride. The most erroneous requirement is to have a professional engineer sign off on the designs of all of our equipment and trackage before we can operate for the public again. We would also have to erect fencing and basically treat this the same way as you would a Ferris wheel or roller coaster at an amusement park. We are not an amusement park. The train is an educational feature to the museum, designed to show what it was like to see, feel, and experience the operation of a historic steam locomotive. We operate industrial equipment formerly used to move ingots in a steel mill. However, with us just getting started, we do not have tens of thousands of dollars to hire consultants and engineers to comply with the amusement park regulations that were written to regulate Ferris wheels and roller coasters and not industrial railroads. This will not affect our steam locomotive experiences, which are educational training programs, nor will this affect our members' only operating days. We actually plan to expand our educational training programming, offering a 2-day course in addition to the steam locomotive experiences, which is the 1-day course. To everyone who rode the train who we're planning to, we apologize. We're just a small group of volunteers with a passion for steel history and steel railroading. When we started this railroad, we did not think the amusement ride regulation applied to us because we did not fit their definition. Amusement ride means a mechanical, aquatic, or inflatable device or combination of those devices that carries or conveys passengers on, along, around, over, or through a fixed or restricted course or within a defined area for the purpose of providing amusement, pleasure, or excitement. Where our guests may get amusement and pleasure from riding our train, amusement, pleasure, and excitement is not our purpose in providing the train rides. People go to the museums not to be amused or excited, but to be educated and enlightened. We serve a completely different audience than those who go to amusement parks. We plan to contact the Ohio Department of Agriculture and discuss this with them, but until that can happen, we cannot offer public tours or public rides. However, if you're over 18 and if you would be interested in learning the basics of steam locomotive, you can join one of our steam locomotive experiences. And you can become a member. Yeah, you know what's coming next. You can become a member of the J&L Narrow Gauge Railroad and be invited to our sessions. This would comply within Ohio law by going to their website. So this is not an uncommon story. I've heard about happiness to heritage railroads before. A lot of railroads got shut down at the end of the 20th century as a result of them being labeled amusement rides and not heritage railroads. Essentially means you got to pay an amusement tax. You got to meet all sorts of requirements. Either way, you got to meet a bunch of requirements. But essentially, if you're an amusement ride, they can't operate. It sounds like if they would fall under the amusement ride thing, they wouldn't be able to operate authentically or appropriately like the locomotive should. So this is just coming. That is not a clean link. This is just coming off to me as more government tampering. God forbid that people try to preserve history on their own without government assistance. Not very enthused by this. I'm not upset, of course, at the Youngstown Steel Heritage. I am as upset as probably they are. Why am I not getting a clean link? I'm trying to get a clean link to you guys. Copy link address? Let's see. So I'm trying to... It's not giving me that... It's giving me a giant gibberish. So hold on one moment. You're going to have to see my ugly grill for a few moments as I go in. I'm going to go to their website. All right. All right. Here we are again. Hopefully this time. There we are. So there's the link if you want to go and become a member of the J&L Narrow Gauge Railroad and therefore part of the Youngstown Steel Heritage Museum and support them in what's going to become probably a legal battle between the Youngstown Steel Heritage Museum and the state of Ohio. Gotta love governments. Always messing up good things and bringing in a bunch of bad. I'm not an order. So let's see if I can bring the mood back up. All right, we're going to shift over. So as I mentioned, I was in the Harpers Ferry, Sharpsburg, Maryland area. Unfortunately, I was not able to visit this museum as they were closed Sunday when we passed through, but I actually talked with the president of the museum a few weeks before my trip down, and I'm very eager to actually make a return trip so I can see this. So this just opened a few years ago in Sharpsburg, Maryland, the site of the Battle of Antietam, and this is the Sharpsburg's Museum of History. Essentially, it is a town museum that explores the history of Sharpsburg beyond the battlefield. They have a couple artifacts here on display. They have a 250 square foot diorama of Sharpsburg during the battle, a metal eagle that once flew on the flagpole in town during the battle, and a variety of school books from the 1800s. All right, let's see if we can learn a little bit more. Visit. Plan your visit. I will plan my visit as this scrolls and scrolls. It's located in the second floor of Town Hall in the square of Sharpsburg, Maryland. Their hours are Monday through Saturday, 9 through 4 p.m. And they also operate tours of the Tolson Chapel by appointment. I believe that was an African-American chapel that was built in town. I've heard that name thrown around by the National Park Service and representatives of the Sharpsburg Museum of History. All right. Blue Star Museum. Trying to see if we have a little bit. Oh, activities. Maybe activities will be. Oh, events list. So here's a couple of events that they're going to be doing here in Sharpsburg. And like I said, this is a town museum. And we talk about these battles that occurred in American history, like Gettysburg or Antietam. And I think we can get so worked up talking about the... Sorry, my cat is getting into angry mode. She's like, I want attention now. Then when I give her attention, she tries to bite me. So we talk about these battles. We get so focused on the troop movements, all of the chaos happening on the battlefield, and we don't consider who has to clean up after this mess, who has to deal with the horrors after the armies leave. It's the civilians. They have a story unto themselves. And of course, a battle is a very finite event compared to a large timeline. So these people moved into the Sharpsburg area. Their descendants built up the town. Then some of them endured this battle and then had to pick up the pieces and rebuild the town and move on. So I'm always for local town museums. That's where some of the coolest stuff, the coolest stories is kept. I'll come up to, I'll meet people when I'm working. They'll come up to me and they'll say, man, you know, all this stuff that this historic, like, how do I want to word this? I work at a museum. People come to our museum. They will be in awe of what we have. And then they'll usually say, man, you have such a cool place to live in. This is a historically rich area. My hometown has nothing. That is a lie. Everybody's hometown has a piece of history. If you don't know about it, it just means somebody hasn't dug deep enough about it. And maybe it's you're the one who's supposed to dig up that history. Every place in the world got a story to tell that's equally interesting. So don't ever think that just because you think your area is boring, dig a little deeper. Dig a little deeper. But in September, on the 15th, there'll be Sharpsburg. They're going to be having an activity about Sharpsburg citizens during the Battle of Antietam. Then on October 7th, museum participation at Sharpsburg Days. It's a town-wide festival. On the 14th, they'll be having their annual volunteer celebration. And then November 18th, a Native American Artifact Expo. I might have to keep that in mind. Oh, we can click it. We can learn more about the Native American Expo. Okay, well, we don't get to learn too much. But yeah, this museum only opened up a few years ago, and they're dedicated to preserving the history, the people of Sharpsburg, Maryland, town famous for the Battle of Antietam, the bloodiest single day in American history. Why is it not on Rumble? That is a good question. Why am I not streaming on Rumble? I mean, in any case, it'll hopefully mirror. I've been having a lot of problems lately with Rumble. The Ohio Powell State Park video did not mirror over, and I don't know why. It's still in the loading process. Let's go over. Yeah, I don't. Well, wait, am I live? I am live over on Rumble. I am currently live on Rumble, at least on my computer, my wimpy computer. So it's over there on Rumble. on my computer. Maybe we're having some connection issues, but I've been having issues with Rumble in general lately. Some videos aren't mirroring over, and it's starting to frustrate me. I really want to build up the Rumble side, mostly in case if something happens and the website known as YouTube's no longer around. Just saying. Always got to be prepared. Always got to have a backdoor, have alternatives set up. But yeah, be sure to go and support the Sharpsburg Museum of History. Explore on your own. All right, moving forward, as they would say. This is actually probably, I would say, one of our main topics for tonight, and it kind of set up the thumbnail for today's video. So, does anybody know what Sheetz is? If you don't know what Sheetz is, well, allow me to explain. Sheetz is a convenience store chain that was founded in Altoona, Pennsylvania. I think it was back in the late 1950s, and it gradually expanded throughout the state of Pennsylvania. Came to include a gas station, came to include like a small lunch counter, and came to also be a place for bathrooms. I will always say this about Sheetz. Sheetz is the only convenience store, the only gas station I've ever been at. I can guarantee all three things will be there: gas, food, and the restrooms. You get to some gas station chains, and their buildings vary in size. Sheetz is, at least in the Pennsylvania area, the McDonald's of gas stations, for better or worse. Well, in more recent years, Sheetz has greatly grown to become a chain throughout the Mid-Atlantic region. I know, of course, they're the most heavily here in Pennsylvania, but I think they're in Maryland, West Virginia, North Carolina. I believe they're in Ohio. Are they in New Jersey? Does anyone know if they're in New Jersey? It's a big chain in the Mid-Atlantic region. But they still have their headquarters near Altoona. It's near a little community called Claysburg, Pennsylvania. And I've actually got to visit the headquarters. I got to go on a field trip my senior year of school. And yeah, it was on my birthday too. So that was like one of the best birthday presents ever. I got to go to the Sheetz headquarters. That was an experience. So colored me shocked when I learned that apparently Sheetz is going to save a piece of local history. So they are saving the buildings relating to the Sarah Furnace operation. And we'll read this article from the Altoona Mirror to learn more about what Sheetz is up to. You know what? Let's take a drink. Let's retry that. Let's try that again. Sheetz is taking steps to preserve an important part of Claysburg history. The company plans to renovate the historic buildings on the Sarah Furnace property at the intersection of Dunnings Highway and Quarry Road in Sproul. Many of the buildings, which were originally used for an iron-making operation, are about 190 years old. We have been waiting for years for something to do renovations for the Sarah Furnace property. And Sheetz is actually going to do it now. It is a very large undertaking, and only a great company like Sheetz has that financial capability, said Rich Allison, historian and founder of Claysburg Past History Group and one of the founders of the Claysburg Education Foundation. It was the very first industrial site in the township employing people other than farming. The iron-making operations of central Pennsylvania were highly successful in the early 1800s until the beginning of the steel industry around 1850. We are so grateful that this property will be saved and renovated. As a company, we have always kept an eye on the Sarah Furnace property. It's such a historic and important landmark for our area that happens to be located in close proximity to our campus in Claysburg. We want to ensure that through our renovations, the significance of this property is not lost upon the people of the Claysburg area, said Sheetz spokesperson Nick Ruffner. So I've been through this area a lot. Not necessarily, we haven't seen a lot on Readout Productions, but if you go to my all but retired sister channel, Laurel Highlands Railfan Films, we did a lot of rail fanning on the Everett Railroad. And the Everett Railroad, one of its branches ends in Sproul. It actually passes the Sheetz headquarters. So I've been through this area and I've never heard about this Sarah Furnace, or well, the buildings to the Sarah Furnace. Let's read a little more. Sheetz initially plans and oh wow, I cannot read tonight. I am sorry. Maybe it's because my glasses, I don't know if you can see the on bolts popped out, and I'm trying to get screwed back in, but I can't. I probably should go get that fixed by the Wally World eye doctors, but I don't want to go to Wally World. I try to avoid that like the plague. So every 2 seconds, my glasses slide off now. Sheetz' initial plan includes the 1832 Schoenberger Mansion and a historic barn located on the property. The company purchased the property from Harbinson Walker International in 2020. In 1832, Dr. Peter Schoenberger, who was the iron-making king of Pennsylvania and possibly the United States at that point, built an iron-making furnace near Sproul on the road that now leads to the Sheetz complex at the Walter Industrial Park. Sarah Furnace closed in 1881 and was dismantled. Schoenberger also built the mansion located at the corner of Dunnings Highway and Quarry Road. Throughout the 21-room mansion were fireplaces made with black marble imported from Greece. Wow. A showcase of a mansion at the time. Yeah, I would say for those that don't know where Claysburg and the Sproul area is, it's in the middle of nowhere. Okay, it's like a half hour from the middle of nowhere. It's in central Pennsylvania. Very rugged terrain, which in the days before railroads, only way I can probably theorize they got that marble to this mansion, they would have used the Pennsylvania Mainline Canal, brought it from Harrisburg and taken it to Hollidaysburg, and then brought it by wagon. And that's still a good haul. That's about a 20-mile haul by wagon to the mansion. A kiln was constructed in the yard to manufacture the bricks for the house, since transporting them would have been very difficult at the time. The barn was built to house 54 mules for transporting iron ore from Ore Hill to Sproul. Doug Heilman and his family were the last to live in the mansion, moving out in 2016 when he retired. I lived there for 39 years until I retired. I called Sheetz and told him, you better buy it. It was a great building. My kids grew up there. It was a beautiful home with so much history. After Harbinson Walker bought it, it was not maintained as well as it should have been, said Heilman, who was plant manager at Sproul. I am tickled to death with what Sheetz is doing. I told him I would help them in any way I could. Sheetz eventually plans to renovate all the buildings located on the Sarah Furnace property, including the Ironmaster's house located adjacent to the mansion, along with other buildings. These buildings have many stories to tell from a historical standpoint. Dr. Schoenberger and the site certainly has a lot of history, but we're so grateful that Sheetz is preserving that history, Allison said. Architectural work for the project is being handled by Matthew Millen Architects, Inc., a firm with a long history of conducting restorations on historic buildings. Permitting at the Sarah Furnace site is expected to start this summer, with building design wrapping up in fall. Construction work is going to begin in late spring 2024. So pretty cool. Well, I thought there were going to be a couple photos I can go through, but yeah, here's some of the property here. Got the big barn for the mules. And they got a couple outbuildings. So yeah, it's a whole complex. These are all living quarters for key individuals for this furnace. So I'm going to assume the end goal is to turn this into a museum. Imagine that. A museum where it can be served Sheetz fries. Now that's my type of museum. So yeah, pretty cool. Good news coming out. You know, we always hear about big conglomerates and corporations basically raising historic structures. Here we got one where we have a large company here actually appreciating what they have, and they're going to preserve it. Fred, what are you doing? Ah, we got plastic back there. I'm going to have to be right back. Oh, I'm not going to be gone too long. Actually, I might probably leave frame. I might play the music just so you have. I'll play the music. No, we're not done the stream yet. I'm only halfway there. No, Fred, the very definition of curiosity kills the cat. The cat that is on a mission to tear all the screens out of our windows. He has a thing with plastic. Plastic is catnip to him. I don't know what actual catnip would be to him. Now he's fine. How are you fine as plastic? He gives me this big look like, oh, I'm not doing anything wrong. So if you hear wrinkling for the rest of the stream, you know why. You know why. Yes, if you've watched some of Wrangler's Weekly Wingets, and I'm on, and if you notice a black cat that gets behind me, that's the cat we're talking about. He's actually a dark gray. Rich House. Cat. Wearing pants confirmed. Yes, I wear my khakis when I'm on stream. I treat this professionally, Jonathan. Thank you for joining the stream. Lisa doesn't need court. Well, we always have time for that. We could see an evolution before the stream is over. All right. Back to what I was doing. Oh, and hey, Sword Rush. I don't think you've been on for a while. Welcome to tonight's stream. And Jonathan Rosenwald again, he's in chat tonight. Very good, very good. So yes, just wrapping up here, we're talking about the Sheetz, a big convenience store chain here in the Mid-Atlantic region, is actually going to preserve a collection of historic structures that were once the homes of key individuals of an iron furnace here in central Pennsylvania. Well, not here. I'm in western Pennsylvania, central Pennsylvania. Yeah, you know what I mean. All right. So we're going to move to some shilling, some Iron Age shilling time now. So if you're tuned in, this is probably what you've come for. I just want to shout out briefly that Amaranth Angels is now on Kickstarter. We have talked about Amaranth Angels before. It is a throwback to your space opera animes, manga series. Gonna be a lot of fun. I've only the only thing that's been released as far as the introduction, but I'm interested where the story's going. So it is on Kickstarter right now. And as a friendly reminder, if you don't know what this is about, Saya Nishizawa was a starfighter pilot prodigy, flying alongside her big sister, Kurina, in the Amaranth Angels Performance Squadron, where they conducted elaborate flying demonstrations and competed in mock battles, which they nearly always won. Things were perfect until tragedy struck, and Kurina lost her life in a sudden accident. Scarred by this, Sayek wanted nothing more than to run as far from a starfighter cockpit as possible. So she resigned from the squadron, left Earth to start anew at a new school and on a space station near the edge of the solar system. However, fate has ways of forcing people back to their calling. When the station comes under attack by an unknown force, Seiya and her friends, caught completely unprepared, need to take flight in order to survive. When the smoke clears, the 5 of them are stranded far from home and thrust into a far bigger fight than they could have ever imagined. Fly into action with the first 200-page volume of Amaranth Angels, written by Yakov Merkin, illustrated by Philbson Gasper. And I'm sure I'm mispronouncing everybody's name. This is a readout stream. I am a Yinzer. I butcher the English language. You just got to go with me on this. Amaranth Angels is an original sci-fi adventure manga done fully in the manga style, including being drawn to be read from right to left. Ah, yes, now you're talking my way, sir. It's a cute girls doing military things story in the vein of anime like Girls in Panzer, which if you watch the anime for historians list, you know I put it on there. High School Fleet, The Magnificent Kotobuki, and Lycoris Recoil, which, you know, Lycoris Recoil was the greatest thing that came out from Japan last year. I'm just going to leave it like that. So you can expect cute, likable characters and fast-paced, exciting starfighter action, brought to you with a gripping story and amazing art. And I'm sure somebody's going to start saying, I have the need for speed. And yes, the 31-page prologue is available to read on Webtoon, so be sure you can do that already. And then here's a different tier. So I will say the tiers for this first volume are pretty bare bones, but I still think they're cool. First, $10 gets you the digital PDF, and I believe you get the digital regardless of what tier you pay into. At $20, you get the Tankobon size for $20. $25, you get a trade paperback size. And then, if you go to 25 to 35, you can get the cute cover. Action cover will be on the back. Oh, they'll both be the same way. Okay, they're just going to flip the sides. You get the combo pack, so you can get both of the covers. Crowdfund exclusive, Fleet Bundle, action cover and cute cover versions in both Tankobon and trade paperback sizes. That's for $90. $200, you can get an ad space. You can shout out one of your projects. $250, this is fun. Angels imprint. Get yourself or something you like into the manga. Limited to free. See award description for additional details. I totally wouldn't consider blowing $250 to have an ad in a Cute Girls Does Military Thing manga. I totally wouldn't do that. Anyways, crowdfund exclusive, waifu promotions. Have one of the girls promote your project for free $100. I'm not that crazy, but I'm sure somebody is. I hope somebody is, so we can give some backing to this wonderful project. And then here's that's about the imprint ad, which I totally am not considering, but putting $250 on. There's some illustrations that are in progress. Oh, you get a sticker. I always like free stickers. Man, I like the black and white on some of the longer shots. So yes. Oh, they're doing acrylic standees too. I didn't even notice them. Oh, you can get acrylic standees. I'm going broke. I'm going broke before tonight's stream over. And what interesting is, so this Merkin apparently has published a real history book. So it's about cross currents, navigating the turbulent politics of the right during the Horthy era and Hungary from 1920 for 1944. So kind of interesting. Want to read that just to see how do we get a guy from writing a book about Hungary during World War II to cute girls do military stuff. So yeah, that is Amaranth Angels. I am going to post the link in the comment section. Give me one moment. Here we are. There we go. Oh, we got cute. Oh, Timo, you've joined us. Welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the lamest show in the Iron Age. Woo! We talk about old stuff. Woo! And I mean really old stuff, not the cool vinyl old stuff, the black and white sepia tone old stuff. All right. All right, let's get my thoughts together. What do I have next? So, moving from Amaranth Angels, we do have to get serious again. So, I just got this in my news yesterday, or at least sometime once I got back from my blitz. WWE Hall of Famer Terry Funk has passed away. Now, if those that don't know wrestling, Terry Funk might not be the biggest name, but man, has he been involved in just about everything in wrestling. So we'll read what WWE has written up. Oh, and if you don't watch wrestling, or like me, no longer watch wrestling, you're wondering who Terry Funk is, have you seen Roadhouse? Have you seen Roadhouse? He's in it. WWE is saddened to learn that Hall of Famer Terry Funk has passed away at the age of 79. Revered by fans and peers across the globe for his tenacity, heart, and longevity, Funk will be remembered as one of the toughest competitors to ever step inside the squared circle. From WWE to All Japan, from WCW to ECW, Funk proved he could go toe-to-toe with the best and push the limits of what was possible inside the squared circle. The son of Dory Funk Sr., Terry began wrestling in the 1960s, forming a successful tag team with his brother and fellow Hall of Famer Dory Funk Jr. before breaking out as a single star. In December of 1975, Funk broke through when he defeated Jack Briscoe to capture the NWA World Championship in Miami. And in the 1970s, that belt was the top prize in wrestling. The World Wrestling Federation title was around. It was held by Bruno Sammartino at that time, but arguably the National Wrestling Alliance World Championship was the belt. This was the day and age of wrestling where there was no big international companies. You had territories where you would have several dozen territories on equal footing with each other, and wrestlers would kind of either stay in that territory or would fluctuate from East Coast to Central to West Coast. And the NWA title was essentially a unifying title for the territories. So wherever it went, you had your territory title, and then you had the NWA World title. Ric Flair had made this title would make it very famous later on in history. But Terry Funk did capture it back in 1975. Funk first competed for WWE when it was WWF in 1985 during the height of the rock and wrestling era alongside his brother. The Funks appeared on the grandest stage of them all, WrestleMania 2. Now WrestleMania 2 is not the grandest stage of them all. WrestleMania 2 was a experiment that thankfully has not been repeated. Well, they tried that during the Raw 30th anniversary, and it was a disaster. Basically, no, the 25th anniversary. Basically, what was the problem with WrestleMania 2 was, so WrestleMania was Madison Square Garden. Main event, what was the main event? Hulk Hogan and Mr. T versus Rowdy Piper and Paul Orndorff, Mr. Wonderful. Okay, I got it. WrestleMania 2. We're going to have free shows occurring simultaneously, and we will simulcast them. So you would have a third of a show in a venue, and then if you're in a venue, you got to watch the other 2/3 of the show on a giant screen. And this is not a giant IMAX screen in 2023. This is a projection screen in a giant arena in 1986. No disrespect, Mr. Funk. But not the grandest stage in them all, sadly. Defeating the team of Tito Santana and the Junkyard Dog. His next stop was WCW in 1989 when he engaged in a legendary rivalry with Nature Boy Ric Flair, which culminated in an I Quit match that is still regarded as an all-time classic. Yes, WCW, the rival of WWF. It was basically the reformation of the ruins of the NWA. The NWA got bought out by Jim Crockett, or did he buy one of the territories? Jim Crockett bought several of the territories from the NWA. He tried to make it into, it was successful for a while, uniformed it into a more national level, but mismanagement occurred. And then Ted Turner was able to buy it for relative cheap and then reformed these shattered ruins of Jim Crockett promotions into World Championship Wrestling with the intention of going one-on-one with the WWF. And if you're familiar with the Monday Night Wars of the 1990s, that's where you get that from. Funk had an impact all around the world during his career, particularly in Japan, where he became one of the most beloved legends of all Japan pro wrestling alongside his brother. Later, he was an innovator of hardcore wrestling alongside WWE Hall of Famer Mick Foley. Yes, the man who got thrown off Hell in a Cell. I gotta get that stream back up. It got copyright strike for 10 seconds, for showing 10 seconds of Foley flying. Freaking WWE. The two brought the infamous style to a worldwide audience through a 1995 tournament where they battled in the finals, balling through tables, chairs, barbed wire, and more. Yeah, it's not for the faint of heart. Funk was also an instrumental figure in Extreme Championship Wrestling. Although he was in his 50s at the time, Funk proved himself against the younger hardcore competitors of that renegade promotion, and when ECW presented its very first live pay-per-view, Barely Legal, in April of 1997, it was Funk who headlined the show, defeated Raven to win the ECW Championship. Yes, Barely Legal 1997, it might just be his most famous moment. So after Terry Funk had by the late 90s, Terry Funk had all the right to retire and would be a legend, and I would still be talking about him highly today. But Terry Funk, for better and worse, sadly, refused to retire. And he went to this newfound company in Philadelphia, Extreme Championship Wrestling, which at this time, most of the wrestling companies were kind of like Saturday morning cartoons. Hulk Hogan had left WWF for WCW, and even though he had jumped the ship, he was pretty stale in WCW. Everybody was trying to repeat Hulk Hogan's success of the 80s. People weren't really into that anymore. You know, grunge music's taking hold. This is where everybody's getting edgy. Yeah, I just used that term on a stream. And ECW was born out of this desire for a much more stripped down product where violence is heightened, the storylines are more extreme, stuff like that. And that's how, and Terry Funk stepped into this. He was one of, if not the mentor behind the scenes for all the newer wrestlers, trying to keep them on the straight and narrow. There is a fantastic, I guess you want to say, rally and cry by ECW's owner at the time, Paul Heyman, before they go live. And basically he tells everybody in that locker room to thank Terry Funk for everything he's done for 3 years. Funk had no reason to be in Philadelphia. Like, if he wanted to stay on his ranch the rest of his life, it would have been no problem. But he wasn't making no money, or he wasn't making a lot of money. But there he was in ECW in a bingo hall. The to put this show live on air. I mean, when you go to like a big show like WWE or today AEW, there's all these trucks going in with all these equipment necessary for the electricity, the power to generate these shows live. There's a tiny little bingo hall in South Philadelphia. You're not getting all that equipment in there. And the story goes that Terry Funk wins the title. They go off air, and like 30 seconds later, one of the generators blew. Power went out in the arena. It didn't matter. Funk returned to WWE in 1998 as Chainsaw Charlotte. Yeah, that was a weird period. The deranged partner of Cactus Jack, Mick Foley, and played a key role in the iconic Hell in a Cell match between Undertaker and Mankind. Yes, we talked about him during the stream. Terry Funk goes in during the match and literally gets choke slammed out of his shoes. Damnest thing I ever saw. After nearly 60 years at nearly 60 age of age, he returned to WCW in 2000. Funk was far from finished in the title picture, capturing the United States Championship, the WCW Hardcore title. The last match of Funk's WWE career came at ECW One Night Stand in 2006 when he teamed with Tommy Dreamer and Beulah McGillicuddy against Mick Foley, Edge, and Lita. Funk left, and I should point out, that was not the end of his career. The man has retired so many times and came back. I think his last match had to be about 2021. He wouldn't stop. He would not stop. After nearly 60 years of, I read that. Funk left his imprint on Hollywood as well, with a number of appearances on the big screen, including roles in Roadhouse, Paradise Alley, and Over the Top. In recognition of nearly 50 years of sports entertainment, Terry Funk was inducted into the Hall of Fame alongside his brother by the late Dusty Rhodes. So yes, that is the story of Terry Funk. Quite literally, the living legend. I think he was introduced as that in his later years, the living legend. And he came out to Desperado by the Eagles in ECW. The man who would get himself lit on fire, torn in barbed wire, didn't care, would go for any holy hail just so he can make everybody happy in the arena. He came out to Desperado by the Eagles. What are you going to say? So that is the tale of Terry Funk. That's okay. You missed a lot, as you can see, in the 20th century. You're not missing a lot now. Peter Griffin has seen it. Don't be Canadian. Do I have to get the meme out? Do you want me to get the meme out? Anyways, moving forward, we're going to go to another shill, and this actually will be the final shill of the night. We were talking about this last night on A Drink with Crazy stream, his comic book shop Wednesday stream, and though I didn't shout it out then because Sprawl was just a cool looking game, and I do plan to find a way to play that game sometime before this weekend's over. Mark my words. One of the other ones I wanted to shout out but didn't have time to is a book by Kitsun Chi, which a certain Iron Age supporter, may or may not know him as Stormcrow, basically hailed as a new age Ghost in the Shell, which is a lofty praise. Now let's see. What is Singularity Sunrise 1, Edenet, a post-cyberpunk espionage thriller by Kitsun Chi in the 22nd century, brings an era of technological wonders and horrors. Cybernetics and genetics engineering, mass surveillance and social credit, full-body cyborgs and nanoscale engineering, and the pinnacle of a human achievement, machine intelligence. So we've achieved all that except nanoscale engineering. Edenet is the next generation of the internet. Designed by Anatole Corporation, it will bring the power of a supercomputer to the fingertips of every user, anywhere in the world. At the heart of Edenet lies a cutting-edge artificial intelligence that regulates all traffic on the network. And one of its lead scientists has disappeared. Fearing the worst, Anatole hires psychic contractor James Morgan to track her down. Accompanying him is Elegia, or how do we pronounce that? Elijah Ogrod. Stop giving me difficult names. Her, him, they. Accompanying him is that person, the mysterious assistant of Anatol's CEO. Their investigation takes them through the militarized streets of Warsaw. Oh, we're going through Warsaw, corporate fortress, and Shenzhen, and the human hives of Hong Kong. Morgan is no stranger to intrigue, yet the deeper he digs, the more questions emerge. Who is that person? What does Anatol want? And what is the truth behind Edenet? So, I'm sorry, Kitsunchi, that I completely butchered that shill. So, if you want to make up to Kitsunchi for my horrible shill, you should go and buy the book. Look at that. Look at that. Right now, I can buy it for $3.76. I'm assuming that steals for everybody. There you go. Buy it. That's $3. The book is almost 400 pages. That's a deal. I think that puts each page in individual cent range, right? Buy the book. Buy the book. I'm going to get the link. Buy the book. Buy the book. I'm going to just keep saying buy the book till I drop that link. Buy the book. Buy the book. Buy that book. Buy that book. Buy the book. Buy the book? Yeah, buy the book. Buy the book. Yeah, Roadhouse. Yeah, he's one of the coolies that like confronts Patrick Swayze. He's like one of the enemy coolies. Or coolers. Why did I just say coolies? Oh my god. Wow. I just can see my viewers just dropping off. They're like, nope, this man has lost the plot. What is this guy doing? He has no right live streaming. You know, you're probably right. You're probably right. But I want to talk about this stuff. And this is the format I can do it in. So, well, we've reached the end of the road. What do you guys think? Who's getting Singularity Sunrise? I sadly don't have the time to read right now, at least not for Singularity Sunrise, because, well, you know, this tome is still occupying my time. I got a lot of tomes up here. Oh, I need to stop buying history books. I need to start reading more fiction. But my problem is I could read a nonfiction book, no problem. My brains were worse. Nonfiction runs in and out of the brain like water. Perfectly fine. Try to read a fiction book. It's like trying to climb Mount Everest for me. It's not that there's anything wrong with the books. I'm loving the stories. But I get so easily distracted and lose the plot. Oh, he's still double dipping. He's doing the Lord's work. Trying to keep it boosted on Rumble. We got to build the Rumble up. Now, before I do run off tonight, I do have a question for those that are listening. I've been wondering about my branding. So, if you know the Retracing History videos, I have stuck for several years now to a brand of these two golden blocks, then in black and Times New Roman. I can't speak. You have the text. I'm wondering if I should change the branding. My problem is to what? I don't want to do like red, white, and blue because that's just so. It's done all the time when it comes to history because it's the flags, it's the colors. Why am I confusing my words? The colors of the American flag. I want to do the black and gold because I'm a Yinzer and I like keeping that. But I'm wondering if there's a better way to do it. Should I do have the bars be black and then it be gold? I kind of like the Courier New font. It looks like a typewriter, but I don't know if it's visually pleasing for the average person. Send me any suggestions. You don't have to say now in the chat if you don't have time. If you want to put it in the comments. If you have a suggestion how maybe I can improve my branding, what would interest you more when you see videos come up, you let me know. I could always ask James. I could always ask James. I need to get him on my show. I want to get him on my show. He's a busy beaver, though. I want to get him on a show so I can have him shill World Without End for an hour and a half. I would have no problem with that. I want to get him on here. That's one of my goals. So, yeah, that's one of my quandaries right now. I'm trying to figure out how I can improve my branding. I feel that might be what's partly keeping this channel down. That and my tongue complete twist. I wonder if we just cut my tongue out. And no voice comes out of my mouth. Might be a better stream. Well, I'd like to thank you for tuning in tonight. If you enjoyed the stream, hit the like button. It's right down there. Yeah, hit it. Because when you hit it, you tell YouTube, you tell the people in the YouTube offices that, hey, history videos, people like that. People want to be educated. History is both educational and very entertaining. There are a lot of goofballs in history. So history has both the values. entertaining and educational. So hit the like button. Let YouTube know history videos do matter. And if you want to be the first notified when I go live or when one of my videos come out, be sure to subscribe to Readout Productions. If you want to support this channel, go the extra mile. You can go to Rumble. The Rumble link's in the description below. You can follow me on Rumble and also like the stream over there. And if you want to go the extra, that's how I use Mile, the extra marathon in supporting me, you can go to my Ko-fi page where you can provide me a wonderful donation for a nice cup of coffee in the morning. I've been running off of coffee every morning now, so I'm going to need it after today's stream. So links in the description for the Ko-fi link below. Well, Crazy Jack World War II UK. Oh, yeah. I think we've talked about him before. Yeah, he is what Count Dankula would describe as an absolute mad lad. Well, we've reached that hour. You know what it means. The music is going to come out. I'm just trying to use what I already have in the comments. So here we go. Hey, thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Hope you had a wonderful time. See you Hopefully I see you next week. I start college just next week, so I don't know if I'll be doing the stream or not. So hopefully I will see you next Thursday, same time, 8 p.m. for Uncut History. There is a new Retracing History that'll be coming out this Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be visiting a stone fort in Maryland that was used in free American conflicts. And at 6 p.m., new episode of Retracing History. See you guys next time.